A very good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all across the globe. Welcome to yet another interesting session from Atlassian User Group. Some of you would be wondering, as we have done one or two sessions right now in the YouTube. I think we are going to a full swing to share more videos on YouTube. The main intent of Atlassian User Group, as you would have heard about, this is a direct subsidiary funded by Atlassian. Atlassian, as most of you would know, is the company who is actually involved in Jira, Confluence, and a lot of other products. The intent of the user group is to make sure we put a platform for people to come and share knowledge and improve their expertise in whatever they are doing, be it related to Atlassian products or anything a software engineer or anyone in the IT industry would like to share with. So let's come to the today's topics discussion. So today we are going to discuss regarding how to manage your backlog like a boss. So what is a backlog? So you'll be thinking very clearly about what is a backlog, how things are. So before we deep dive into all those points, let me just give you a quick brief about myself. I am Jitesh Pillai. I'm a senior QA manager with Oracle. I have close to 11 plus years of experience working in this industry. So let's start with the initial point. So every time when I start a new project, I used to say to myself, right, this time I'll make it right. I am sure most of you would have, felt the same. Every time you start a new thing, you'll say that, yes, this time I'll do it right. But how do you feel after that? What happens next day? Let's see an interesting conversation that happens in a company. Assume that I'm a manager. I have a team member. Let's call him Ashok for the namesake. And I'm asking this question to him. Ashok, when are you planning to finish this task that is assigned to you right now? So Ashok say, it is a design task. Since it's a design, right, new design, I want to make sure that I create a big framework, a robust one, so that we have less work in the future. So it will take time. Can we finish this by Friday? Ashok will say, no, we cannot. Oh, well, now what is the answer of this manager? Okay, listen carefully. Oh, let's create a technical backlog and let's keep it in the back burner. So what is a backlog? Anything that you cannot do right now, which you're keeping it in the back burner, is what we call as a backlog. This is one example of a bug which is actually getting in the backlog, technical debt, which I had spoke about. Now let's talk about another scenario where we have a release sign-off meeting where, okay, most of you would know it. Whenever we release a product, we have a release sign-off meeting happening with developers, managers, and all the stakeholders who are they are part of this arena. So in the release sign-off meeting, okay, all these people come around and say that, hey, I have saved three bugs and I have saved two bugs. We cannot close this. This is critical. Then this question comes up. How critical is this? Then the developers will say, oh, no, it's not critical. It's just a UI bug. It's not a functional bug. Hey, customer will never face this issue. The interesting case is a little different where the customer raises the bug, all this will become a priority. But for now, for release sign-off, we all agree saying that, okay, this is okay to leave. So how do we take that decision? We take an exception from all the management chain saying that, okay, this is okay to go. How do you make it okay? Let's create a Jira backlog. So what you've done is you have actually put a Jira backlog in place. So that is what is happening on the second backlog. So now what is actually happening to all of you in terms of doing your task is like you are creating a pile of lot of things which you cannot complete as a backlog. Assume about 200 to 300 bugs and features and a lot of other areas which you think are UX design probabilities putting in a backlog. Do you guys ever think that this is an easy task to manage your expectations and balance this? This is the difficult problem that every one of us face day-to-day work. Okay, now what are we going to address here? So let me just quickly share my screen, on the first slide, so that you guys understand where do we stand with it, right? So let me just, okay. So going to the next area, this is what do we say as balancing expectations. So what are we planning to do? First, we need to make sure that all the team members do have expectations to be balanced, right? What do we mean by balancing the expectations? First, we need to understand what the problem is, right? And how to balance it within the team. That is first. Second is how to make sure to use Jira software to manage this backlog. Third, how to use relative sizing. That's what we mentioned to make it planning more effective here. Right. Let's assume a team. Okay, this is the team that I'm talking about. So you see on the left side, you have two developers on the top. Okay, and you have a product manager on the left, and you have a UX designer or technical writer or whatever you can say, and one of the most important roles, QA, also below. Which we see in yellow. So what is essentially happening with all these roles, which is there in each teams? What we essentially have is we are not able to understand their needs. Everyone has their own priorities. For example, a developer is always looking at doing new features. So I want to do new features. I want to get it done. What is QA looking at? They are trying to reduce the pile of bugs that is there in their back burner. That is their priority. So, and what is it all about is to understand each one of these people, their skill set and their roles, and how to align it to your project. That is the most difficult task that all of us face in a company, for that matter. Right? So now I've told you the roles and why this is going to be differing for each of your teams. You should understand the people, how they are coming up. And first, this is how you have to balance the expectations. This is the first level that we have to look at. Next, this is what I'm talking about. On the right side, you'll see the big pile of your backlog. And on the left side, you have the team. Now, next is your task coming up, how to balance this backlog, right? So this is the team that I'm talking about, developer, who is mostly involved in the technical debts. Technical debts is anything that is technical that we cannot do right now. We're putting it in the back burner. We call it as technical debt. You have the product manager, who is the most important person in any team. When a feature is start to end, he's the guy or she's the guy who's involved in making sure everything is as per the requirements and signed off. Most of the companies call it as business analyst. There are different nomenclatures that are followed. Then there is the quality guy, was the testing person, who is mostly involved in finding the issues, how to make sure that the product is robust. That's the main role of the quality person. Now, here comes the important caveat. Okay, you have technical debts, you have new feature, you have bug. Which is a priority for you? Okay, so you have to take priorities depending upon where and what type of product you're building. Okay, for example, if you're having a completely new product that is getting into the market, what is your goal? You have to get maximum number of features. That means your priority is new features. Now, if you're a 10 years plus company working on a specific product which is also 10 years old, then what is your priority? You have to make sure that your piled bug backlog is clear. And if I'm talking about a still older product, okay, you might have to make sure that you adapt to the latest technologies. So how do you do that? You have to make sure that your technical depth of adapting the new technology has to be the priority. Do you guys think any of these is not interdependent? Let me ask you this question. Okay, all of you, just on the back of your mind, think about which is more important in all of this. Technical debt, new feature, bug. Keep the answers to yourself. From our perspective, everything is important and interrelated. As I mentioned earlier, that is your decision factor to make sure that which one should be taken up first. Right. Now, let's agree on the amount of time that we're planning to dedicate to each of these categories. For example, 70% time of a particular sprint. Okay, hold on. What is a sprint all about? Have you guys heard about it? For people who are completely new to Jira concepts and Agile, what we call a sprint. Sprint is like you plan to deliver a particular feature or set of features within a short span of time, which is requirement done, testing, development done, and testing done, and you sign off within 2 weeks. Whatever you can accomplish within 2 weeks or 3 weeks, you typically call a sprint of duration of 2 weeks or 3 weeks, depending upon the models that you want to choose. You have multiple sprints within a release. That's how you should think about. So now what we're talking about is the amount of time that we're planning to spend within a sprint. 70% I'll spend on new features, 15% on bug fixes, 15% on technical debt. So this is the sprint that you see right now. There is the beginning on the left side, and you have first, as you all agreed to, first we'll address the technical debt bugs. Why? Do you guys think small wins make a long way, or do you want to actually work on the new features first and then you more? This is a really interesting topic to think about from the experience of the people who are there in the market, right? Once you are able to address the technical dead bugs, which are for sure you're planning to attempt every sprint, you make it a point that, as I mentioned earlier, you are going to address 15% of your technical debt, 15% of your bug fixes, and 70% new features every sprint. It's not like, what normally happens in most of the companies is like, we finish off all the features, we're working on sprints, we are getting the features done, everything is done. Now you're about to release in 2 to 3 weeks. Then what you'll do, all the features are developed and then you release to testing and they release a lot of bugs, but your development team is going to work on your technical debt, bug backlogs. What happens is they have bugs coming in from the new features. Do they get time to work on the existing bugs? No. So this is how you need to prioritize things. This has proved to be a really effective method in most of the company. That's how we are proposing this as an example. Okay, so 30% technical bugs, 70% on features, and then end. So now, this is what I mentioned about. So how do you balance expectations? So before you talk to your developer or a QA or a product manager, understand their skill sets, their roles, and make sure they also understand what is the overall expectation from their skill set point of view. Tell the developers that bug fixing, clearing of all the bugs is also a priority, not only working on completely new features, right? And make sure the QA also understands you have to have sufficient new features also. And the product manager is also aligned that you have to make sure that what can be delivered in a short span of time, which has complete visibility to the customer, which makes a difference to the customer. That's how we should deliver it. So we have done the balancing expectation act. We have to make sure that we have put the understanding across all the parties, which are the stakeholders, which I spoke about, and how to categorize with Jira software. That's what we are looking at next up. And so this is, what you see on the left side is the teams, which you normally have. On the left side is the entire backlog. You have quick filters, all my issues, recently updated tabs in the Jira storyboard. So this is your dashboard where you find your current active sprint. When you click on active sprints, you come to this one and you have the sprint one, SL sprint one, you have all the issues listed down. So this is like, a humongous bug list of 300 to 400 items is going to pile up and no one is ever going to look at it. Okay, so how do we do it? It's like your daily priorities, which you're planning to, when you come to office and you take your work in the morning, how do you do it? That's the same way that we're trying to do here. If you see here, let's organize. That's the first thing that we'll do. Okay, organize. How to do the organizing within Jira is to create categories. So do you guys know how to create categories within Jira? You can create a fake sprint. That's what we're trying to say. A fake sprint means you don't have to click on start sprint. You can click on create sprint. And in that create sprint, you create a category by name, technical debt. Another category by name bugs, another category by name nice to have, another category by name backlog. So what you've done is you've identified and categorized your backlog. So what essentially is happening is you don't have to create a big dashboard to do all those things. This is being done in your basic Jira board where you create your active sprints. Everything is in one place. What is the advantage? Is like you can easily move around and see which is the priority items. How do you do it? If you click on bugs here, right? So for example, I'm looking at the technical backlog, technical debt item here. So in that technical debt item, if you come here, add, RX Java 2 to Android, you have put a priority as high. On the right side, you have an option to put the highest priority, medium priority, and lesser priority. So within this, each of these backlog stories, you can actually put a priority. So it'll appear in the priority order. And next is the bugs also will appear in the priority order, right? And also nice to haves and backlogs, the overall backlog which you have not categorized. Okay. Now, what you've done earlier was we have tried to organize, we have to create, how to create these sprints I told you about. It's like you create fake sprints. Click on create sprint, create a fake sprint, don't click on start sprint, do this activity, just categorize it, that's it. Instead of your backlog items, you just rename all those and put a category within that active sprint page itself. Okay, and move all the tickets to the specific categories. Make sure you do that. Backlog only for features. Use the backlog only for features. Never do it for bugs and technical data items. Okay, that is the thumb rule that you have to do. And here, what you've done essentially is you find all those emojis or the name figures which I've tried to put here. So this, as I've told you earlier, the first one who's going to address the technical debt, it's going to be the developer, right? That's how you see. You have what you essentially do within an organization or a task that you do is you have to put the onus or the ownership on the person. So if the backlog is going to be there, if there is no categorization, and no one is going to take responsibility of any of these things. So here we're putting the onus and the responsibility. You create a technical debt, fixed sprint, and you're putting all the technical data items there. And who's responsible? The developer. Who is the developer point of contact is responsible for categorizing and clearing it of all the queue. There's no question about it. And then you have bugs, okay? And who is to take care? Who is the dev or QA involved in this? They have to categorize those bugs with the product manager's priority. And the nice to haves are the UX design features. Who's going to be involved in that? It's the product manager or the UX designer. Both of them are going to be involved. So you find that person is accountable for that. And who's going to look at the backlog? And backlog features are again a product manager's responsibility. That's why you see a backlog feature which has to go next sprint. So thumb rule, never put your technical debts, bugs, or nice to have in the backlog. Categorize it by creating fake sprints. Easy to do it. Click on your active sprint and just create 3 fake sprints, and all the features you can put it in your backlog. Okay. Once you've done it, okay, so this is how it will look. You're not clicking on the start sprint button on the right side. Okay, so this is a typical big project which I'm looking at. We have version 1, version 2 backlog, and the overall backlog. So, and here, if you want planning to release multiple releases of a product, right? So version 1, version 2, version 3, you can create version 1, version 2, version 3 backlogs all right away, so that you know in what version what all features will go. So this is one short page to understand everything. You don't have to create your, as I told you about Jira dashboards, big reports, everything is clear in one place, one page, simple. Okay. Everything inside a category, you need to make sure that it is measured. That is the first thing that you should do it. As I told you earlier, what did we do till now? We set the expectation with the team. What are each person's responsibilities, their skill set? As I told you, QA will always look at clearing of the bug queue. Developer will always look at creating new features because that's how their passion is. Product managers will also look at the overall feature delivery and the new designs. That's how they have to balance this act. Each one of you have to understand each other, why we're doing it. Okay, as I've told about, depending on the company or the model that you have, if it's a new product, if it is going to be new features have to be on the priority. If it is going to be a very old product, technical debt and also bugs, and still very old product where you have to move to technology one, latest one you have to click on, technical debt. In any of these cases, you're trying to address your 15% of your technical debt, 15% of your bugs, and then 70% of your new features in each sprint. Okay. And then we came to the usage of, that's how we balanced the expectation with the day. And then they came to the usage of Jira software to manage the backlog. That's how I've mentioned about categorization. Any day you come to work, you have to organize your task. Otherwise, you don't know where to do. So you have to buy groceries, you have to do your office work, you have to do a lot of things. The best method is to categorize them and then to prioritize. That's what we did. Here in Jira, we created fake sprints. Click on create sprint, created a sprint by name technical debt. Another name was bug, another was nice to have. And then you should use only features for backlogs, and then you put the categories, everything here, and then you have to always make sure that you have to measure and put anything that is coming out of the backlog has to be measured before you put it into each of these categories. That is the most important factor that you have to look at. Why? Because if it is put with a specific, for example, if I'm planning to address a bug, how much time does it take for me to address this bug? If it is already measured, or the technical that it is measured, that means we know how much is the story point associated with that bug, right? And then you put it there. I'll talk to you on how to measure these story points in the upcoming slide, but this is just to have a high level view. Every issue should have a fixed version associated with this. You have to make sure which version it should go, as I've shown you in the versioning. And backlog is the issues to triage. Okay. Now, I've done the balancing expectations, categorizing the Jira software, and now how to make sure to use relative sizing to make the planning more effective. What is relative sizing? This is a typical office room that we have. Now, with the COVID-19 coming into the picture, this is more relevant, I think, because here you can use the virtual arena to create your relative sizing, right? So where we have a lot of virtual teams working together. So this is our backlog, okay? Technical debt, and these are the names, Jarton, Lauren Ipsum, and these are the names given for the next different sprints. You have bugs, everything you see in the backlog, you've created all these sprints there, okay? And when you click on the right side, you have the board settings and everything was created and all this stuff. Now, within Jira, you have an option to have a card created on the right side. You have 3 buttons on the right side on the backlog page. If you click on that, you scroll down, you have an option of print cards. You can actually print the cards for each of these stories, what is their sizing, okay? Now, this is how the cards will look like. So if you come to this virtual meeting, right? So assume this is your normal backlog grooming meeting. And then you have all these features. So you have add smart log to the app. You have put your priority as high, AP11, and what is this related to? Security, and change the logo of Jira. Server not available message is wrong. I mean, this is again a bug. So you have actually put color coding for different of the tags. If you mention, this is one of the backlog which I've taken for story sizing. So here, what do you see on while we call it as 13 here, these are all story sizes, okay? So this is typically the story. What you see here is our all stories with their priorities and their tags. And now we need to look at how to size this story. That means how much is the effort required for completing this task? That's what we are looking at. So you can take it and literally take a print out and use your scissors to wrap it up. If it was not a virtual setting, you can actually come to the meeting with each of these papers, put across and cut, and then put it in this table and distribute the cards among all the developers. You have the developers who are marked in purple, and you have the designers and also your product managers on the left side on top, and you have the architects, or you can say technical writers on the right, and you have the quality on below. So what you have to do is you have to look at hard ones on the top and easy ones to the bottom of the table. So if, for example, if having a big table like the one that I shared earlier, there's a big table, to make sure the hard ones go to the top right portion and the easy ones to the top the left portion. Okay, let's see. And is it easier, harder, or equal in terms of effort than the previous step? That's how you measure it. Okay, so the advantage of using Jira and Agile is like, how do you measure the how hard this task is? You measure and compare it based on your previous experience. For example, I'm asking one of you to measure the sizing of one of the ad, or let me take this specific example, add smart lock to the app. You said 13, right? And I don't know whether it is right or not. It is your sizing. You believe that it takes that much time, or you say that, okay, let me just take another example of putting 5 story points to another, change your message when logged out, and change how search work, you say 3 story points. These are all based on a sprint of 10 days duration. Okay, you can say that 3 story points, 4 story points, and that's for the entire task to get completed. So you do that and you go ahead and do your task. Okay, you assign it. Easy, right? Then you go ahead and do it. First time, first sprint, you make mistakes. Okay, you're dividing these among all the people, and you've discussed internally, decide, you discuss in detail, why are you putting this size? everything has to be open, right? And you understand it and then you measure it. You put 8 for some of the stories, 5 for some of them, 3 for some of them, 2 and 1. You've measured it, you've divided it. Okay, now how do you do it next time? It's like first time in the first sprint, it can be a mess. Don't worry about it. Let people go ahead and do it. Next time, for the next sprint backlog grooming meeting, you have to compare with the old ones that you've done. How much time does it actually take to complete the task? Then if you've done a mistake in sizing, hey, you didn't take that much time for doing this particular task on add smart log to the app. You took only 3 days and you mentioned 8 days. Oh, my decision on that was wrong. So that's how the team gets groomed. Okay. So you have to always use the team for give that empowerment to the entire team to take decision on when and how to complete this task. That's how agile works. Okay. And why use it only for the sprint planning meeting? You don't have to use it only for the sprint planning meeting. You have to always make sure using your daily task. So this is a very simple method to manage your backlog. Story sizing can be done very easily, and then you put your backlogs like this. This is a very, to wrap up, first is to clear up the expectations, reduce frictions and discussion. Every day you have to ensure that the entire team meets up, okay, for a discussion. If it's across, and it should be open, like people should openly discuss. If it is a developer, QA should ask this person, why are you doing it? And developer can ask, how much time, why are you taking this much time? All these things. Next is categorization. Helps to give you a good insight on the areas that the team needs to work on and bring all the team in the backlog. That's the second categorization. And next is a relative sizing. Makes the planning more faster and effective. With this, I wrap up my session on how to groom your backlog like a boss. I hope you were able to understand what we intend to deliver, and please take it back to your teams, and please share your feedbacks in the comment section of the YouTube channel. From the Atlassian user group, we welcome all of you to be part of these sessions. You can all take these sessions. Please inbox us or message us if you wanted to be part of the Atlassian. You have different centers across the globe for Atlassian user group. You can be part of any of these. This has been driven from Atlassian user group Trivandrum in Kerala in India. And thank you everyone once again for watching. Have a wonderful day. Take care. Bye-bye.